Philippine police raid a sex bar in Manila. The Philippines is now the sex capital of the world. Western tourists flock here for cheap sex with the thousands of prostitutes working in bars like this. Some of the prostitutes are children. In the bars and out on the streets, 60,000 girls and boys are sold for the pleasure of foreign paedophiles. This film tells the story of some of those paedophiles.
How much?
1.5 for the girls.
Of the pimps who procure for them.
1,500
Each?
Yeah.
And of the children who are their victims. It is also the story of an unorthodox Catholic priest who has devoted his life to fighting the commercial child sex industry.
And so it is not only for the wise and for the powerful and for the rich to understand the inner love of God for all of us. It is for those clean of heart as a child, for those who are innocent and
Shay
pure
Cullen
within
came to the
themselves.
Philippines 26 years ago
They are
to work with the
ones
poor, the
who are
homeless,
closest to God.
and the thousands of children who live on the streets.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. There's a long history of exploitation of the poor people of the southern countries by north. In the past, there's always been this colonial exploitation of the raw materials, of the people themselves in industry. But now they're actually exploiting the bodies of little children.
Tonight will be Shay's last service for 2 weeks. Tonight he will leave the sanctuary of his church to infiltrate the commercial sex industry, swapping his priest's robes for the guise of a paedophile tourist.
I really think people should expect to see a Catholic priest like myself doing this kind of work, and I only wish that many more would be involved and committed to do it. If we don't find out the truth and we don't understand what's going on here, and if there's no one to tell the people in general in the world that this evil is thriving here, we can never develop programs to combat it, to overcome it, and to bring it to an end.
Shay's undercover mission brings him first to Angeles, a sordid and violent city controlled by the syndicates who run the commercial sex industry. 2,000 women work the street and the sex bars, exclusively serving foreign tourists. Shay's goal is to locate children working among them as prostitutes and uncover the bars which sell them to foreign customers.
Working undercover, you have to be very careful. These syndicates are very nasty and they'll get revenge some way or the other. I do it because it's my mission to be with the poor and to be with the most oppressed. And you can't find anybody more oppressed and exploited than the young children that are being sexually abused in this nightclub industry.
With a small backup team and using hidden video cameras, Father Shay Cullen will venture into the underworld of Angeles sex bars.
Most of the customers are, you know, these foreign tourists coming from Britain, Australia and Americans, Germans, Swiss. They've no right to be here. They're doing something that is totally destructive of the young people.
In bar after bar, he finds girls of 14 and 15 years old being sold for sex. In this bar, the owner offers Shay a 14-year-old virgin. The price is $20.
I'm 14 years old. Really?
How old did you say? 14?
Yeah, I'm 15.
You're going on 15.
Some of the girls are innocent children, tricked into prostitution.
Yung nangyari po sa akin na sabi po kasi ng barkada ko.
My friend told me I'd find work as a house help.
Kala ko po kasi
I didn't know I'd be working as a dancer.
Tapos hindi ko naman po alam yun naman po.
But that's what happened to me.
Po sa may dancer po.
Last year, when Jennifer was 14, a bar owner sold her to an Australian paedophile for the night.
Sumama po sa lalaki. Tapos
I was taken over to a customer, and the man who was in charge of us said, "Come on, go with this customer."
Sige na, gusto mo ba naging customer? Sabi ko naman.
I said no, I didn't want to. But it was getting to be embarrassing because there were a lot of people watching. And then they forced me to go with the customer.
Tourists pay the bar owners a bar fine to have sex with the dancers. Posing as a potential investor, Shay finds another bar owner very willing to explain the system.
Depending on the way you want to work, he takes her out for 2 hours and he, excuse my language, he fucks her. That's it. No money back. If he comes back and complains that she pissed off at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's shit.
The woman, Gay Dopper, runs the Temple of Rock bar. Upstairs, she keeps 30 adult prostitutes in squalid accommodation. She pays them the equivalent of $4 a night. But if a customer does not pay a bar fine to have sex with them, she cuts their wages.
We pay 100 pesos per dancer, per night. If they don't go bar fine in a week, they go down to 90. If they don't go bar fine for 2 weeks, they go down to 80. Now, some girls don't want to go bar fine.
I was stripped of my clothes, and he raped me. He raped me. It was very painful for me.
Tapos na po kami.
And then when it was over,
Sabi ko,
I said, "I want to go home now, sir. I should go home." I said, "I think I should go home." But he couldn't understand me because I couldn't speak English. I just said, "Please, let me go home, sir." But he said one more time, and then And then he did it to me again.
Tapos nagbihis na po
Afterwards, I was
ako
putting my clothes on,
Sabi po yan sa akin.
and he said, I don't want you to get dressed.
Ayaw po niya ako pabihisin.
And I said, please, I don't want to do it anymore. Please, have mercy on me, sir.
No matter what anybody says, it is still, and excuse me, I'm going to be crass again here, it's still the cheapest plate in the world.
Gay Dopper tells Shay that although what she and her fellow bar owners do is against Philippine law, the mayor of Angeles protects them because the bars make money for him.
The majority of the bars in this town buy fresh mango juice and fresh orange juice from a place called Nutralicious. It's owned.
What's the name of the place?
Nutralicious.
Nutralicious.
It is owned by the mayor. He is not going to close down the bars. He is not going to take action to hurt the tourism.
The commercial industry, exploiting youth and these young girls and boys here in Angeles is, growing because of official sanction and neglect by the very government who should be protecting these children and giving them a bright future.
Shay Cullen will turn over all the evidence he has gathered in Angeles to the Philippines' national law enforcement agencies.
We will develop a program with the police who we find can work with us and are trustworthy, with the Department of Justice to investigate these abusers, both the foreign tourists, the local pimps, the nightclub operators, and do everything we can to implement the law.
Angeles Courthouse, and the first hearing in a case Shay has instigated against an alleged British paedophile, Douglas Michael Slade.
Abuse his discretion when he denied the motion to pass, or the accused should await trial before it can raise.
Slade, once the leader of an underground British movement of child abusers, Paedophile Action Liberation, is accused of molesting 3 boys aged 12 and 13 at his home in Angeles City. He denies the charges, claiming only to have given them grandfatherly kisses.
The accused has been arraigned.
Prosecutor Hilda Clave is seeking a sentence of 40 years in prison.
The accused should have been
Slade's trial could last up to a year, but he has been freed on bail, and Prosecutor Clave fears he may interfere with her witnesses.
He's out and is free to talk to the victims and the parents. The mothers are the influential persons over the kids. So I have been also talking to the mothers to also stay with us with the prosecution in order to successfully prosecute these cases.
Later, unaware that he's being filmed, Douglas Slade reveals how he has already conspired with his ex-lawyer to bribe Prosecutor Clave to drop the charges against him.
Because the lawyer does the deals. That's what they're for, right? You take a lawyer here. I mean, you can't walk into the prosecuting attorney's office and say, drop you $1,000 if you throw this one away. But your lawyer does. That's exactly what he's paid to bloody do. I'm in jail, right? Looking through the balance, And he told me that she could be bought. We can sort this out if we give her a couple of $1,000. But I bit it. I said, okay, let's get this thing over with. I don't want to stay here. I'm in jail. If that's the way I get out, let's get out.
Prosecutor Clave was not to be bought. But just as she feared, Douglas Slade has plans to escape prosecution by paying off the boys' families.
Negotiate with them. Do you really want your children to come to court? No, it really depends. Well, it's legal. They just withdraw their complaint. There are legal ways of achieving that objective, but it wouldn't be for me to. It would simply be for the lawyer to discuss terms, you know, like anybody else would discuss terms, like Michael Jackson discussed terms.
Shay Cullen's undercover mission has brought him to Manila. In areas around the luxury tourist hotels, young children are being sold to foreign paedophiles.
Well, I got an information that there's some children down here being prostituted in the park. So I'm going to go down and see, can I do anything to help them, get to know them, and maybe we can rescue them and get them into a rehab program. I think it's important for us to talk to them and find out what they're involved in.
By day, Rudy Santillan works for the Department of Tourism. By night, he pimps prepubescent children in the park.
But I tell you frankly, here in Manila, a bit difficult if you get minors, because you know we call it pedophiles. You like minors, but you can select the girls only secret dial.
Yeah, how much?
1,500 for the girls.
1,500.
1,500
each.
Yeah.
And
500 for the pimp.
That's for you.
Yeah,
I give you 5.
Yes. Because difficult for me if small girls. Never mind boys.
You can get small boys.
Yeah, I can get small boys.
How young? How young?
14, 15, 13, yeah, like that.
13 as well.
The pimp takes Shay across the park, where 3 tiny 13-year-old girls are waiting to be sold below the counter of a snack bar.
You want some drinks?
Yeah, I'll have a Coke.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, you like it? Yeah.
No,
you don't like Coke?
I
No, she wants this one. Okay. There you go. Okay. How much do you want for the girls?
500 for me, 1,500 for the girls.
The pimp tells Shay he has dozens of other children available in the same park. Most have been abandoned and are homeless. With his evidence gathered, Shay makes his excuses and leaves.
God, that was really terrible. Those kids are only 13 years old. It's just hard to believe it. That pimp said that they were all runaways, and there was nearly 30 of them. And he was picking them up and selling them to the tourists down there at the Luneta Park. I really got to get the social welfare people down here, and we'll rescue those children, and then I'll get the police, and I'm going to arrest that pimp and charge him and get an end to all of this stuff down here. It's unbelievable.
Shay Cullen's investigations into the Philippine child sex industry have brought him to Pagsanyan, the place where the trade began. For 25 years, the boatmen who ferry tourists to Pagsanyan waterfalls have also sold them young boys for sex. Shay's boatman tells him the trade was started by an English paedophile called John Stamford.
He told me how John Stamford came to him. He offered the money to set up children
to seduce children and then sell those kids to the tourists whom Stamford sent to Pagsahan.
Under Stamford's direction, Pagsanyan became infamous as the town which sold its children. Paedophiles came from all over the world to prey on its young boys. One of the organisers of the trade in Pagsanyan was an American paedophile called Andrew Mark Harvey. When he was arrested, police discovered his detailed records of hundreds of foreign paedophiles and their young victims.
I don't know very much.
Shay discovers the thousands of index cards on which Harvey recorded his network are still held in Pagsanyan. The cards are shockingly explicit.
Danny, 13. Oh, he stayed overnight and he said 25 pesos, not even $1 did he pay him for overnight. He says his penis is very large. He describes how affectionate he is. He's passive, and he's worried about his dinner food prices. He's very polite. 14, Roy. Small for age, good-looking, quiet, affectionate, aggressive for his own pleasure. Describes his sex, likes blowjob, will do it with a tourist. Gee, here's a kid, Leonardo, 8 years old. This is just unbelievable. 8-year-old kid. He's very cute, very shy, and describes all his sexual, genitals and his body and what he can do and what can be done to him. Harvey's organization is really just something that's unbelievable, that one man, could have sexually abused so many children systematically, so organized, and brought in his friends and sold these children, like sex slaves for a pittance.
Harvey was deported in 1989, but Shay's investigations reveal that Pagsanyan is still selling its children for sex. He has been approached by a number of pimps.
One of the pimps turned out to be a government official, hanging about the hotels and offering children and offering to set me up if I wanted to buy children for sex.
Shay arranges for the pimps to bring 3 boys to a hotel room and records the transaction on hidden cameras.
The pimps who came to us told me that they already had experienced being victimized themselves, and now they were offering their cousins. Some even offered me their younger brother at one stage. Okay, right. Take care. Ilang taon ka? 12. 11 years old, ha? Ha? And ikaw? 12. So you umupo diretso?
Diretso.
Oh, 12. I see. Anong sabi yung mga pinsan mo sa'yo tatlo? Anong mangyayari sa'yo dito kasama sa mga kano? So you think kung alam ang daddy mo na dito ka sama sa turista, no? Parang mag-sex sa kanila, baka galit siya.
Hindi ho, payag din ho.
Payag din? Kung halimbawa na yun, nasama ka dito sa mga lalaki, tulog na kayo dyan at anong mabuti yan?
All Shay's evidence will be passed to the Philippine police.
Yeah, well, I'm really very, very angry, but I can see that this whole industry of child sex is really ingrained here, actually, in the families. The kids told me that their parents know they're coming here, their parents agree about it. I just can't believe it, it's just a real shocker that this is going on. The world out there, I don't think really knows, that these kids have been so, destroyed.
His mission over, Shay returns to the Prada Foundation, the home he runs for 35 abused and abandoned street children in Olongapo City.
In many cases, the children have lost their own fathers who have not provided sort of protection or security for them. Here at Preda, we provide a substitute family. They look at me as a father image. My job is to bring more love into their life and to give them that security and that sense of well-being and a sense of being cared for and a sense of being loved for themselves.
Protecting children from foreign paedophiles is beyond the impoverished Philippine government. Whole generations grow up on the streets, begging for pennies in the traffic.
70% of the population of the Philippines live in this condition of poverty. They're driven off the land, and so they come to the cities and they live in slums. They become beggars on the street, and their children end up as child prostitutes. It's that simple, but that horrible.
Maribel Manlapig is 15 years old. She has been a prostitute serving foreign paedophiles since she was 8.
I have a mother and I have brothers and sisters. There were 3 of us. We used to go to school, but we're a broken family.
At
first I was happy because I was able to buy what I wanted. I could buy shoes or I could buy a necklace.
With the money she earns by selling her body, Maribel can buy luxuries her family could only dream of. But the price she pays is terribly high. Recently, Maribel was badly beaten by 2 paedophiles.
There were 2 of us. The men said they were going to fuck us. My friend and I didn't want to, but the men hit us. I was scared because they could have killed me. They could have just thrown me away. That's what frightened me. I was scared of what could happen to me. My ambition is to become a reporter or a doctor. But I don't think I'll be able to fulfill this dream because I'm here doing this job, being a prostitute, taking customers. Really, I wanted to be a doctor or a reporter so that I could have something to tell my parents and be proud of.
In Olongapo, Shay Cullen has spotted a suspected Australian paedophile with local children on board his yacht.
I happened to be videotaping at the children's party, and I saw the boat and I took a look, put a zoom lens on the boat, and I saw little children on board.
Under Philippine law, foreigners are forbidden to be alone with children. Accompanied by 2 police officers, Shay Cullen sets out to intercept.
Paano pag-akyat natin dito?
You say somebody has made a complaint?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Well, Preda.
When he anchored here at the beach, he was going past the houses of these poor children who lived on the hillside and made contacts with the parents. Apparently, he invited them on his boat.
The Australian is a 62-year-old tourist called Victor Fitzgerald. He is arrested, and 3 young girls are taken off his yacht. The children claim to have been sexually abused by Fitzgerald. But the case will become a lengthy trial of strength between the Australian and Shay Cullen. Some of the children from Fitzgerald's yacht are placed at Preda to receive specialist therapy. More than a third of the children here have been sexually abused. Preda's highly trained staff encourage the children to cry out some of the pain they have bottled up inside them.
These children are locked in themselves, and this repression creates a great deal of tension within them, like a coiled spring that's pressed down inside. They were never allowed to talk about it, never even allowed to cry about it. So we let them bring it all out.
The courthouse along Apo City. Victor Fitzgerald has been charged with the sexual abuse of 2 of the girls on his yacht.
Will you step forward, Mr. Fitzgerald, as appearing judge?
Fitzgerald's prosecution is a landmark for Shay. If successful, it will be the first conviction of a foreign tourist for abusing Filipino children.
RTC Brand 74.
If we are able to get a conviction, it will send a message, a very important message, to tourists everywhere, in Britain, in Australia, in Germany, wherever, that the government here in the Philippines, it means business.
The court hears evidence of what Fitzgerald is alleged to have done to the children. Dorentino Floresta is the public prosecutor.
Ayon sa salaysay ng mga babae, mga bata, at sa deklarasyon.
According to the story of the girls, in their court declaration, Fitzgerald touched the private parts of their body. He kissed them, fondled their breasts, and the same with their private parts. Once, Fitzgerald went on top of one of the girls, pulled her knickers down, and he wanted to put his penis inside her. But this didn't happen, because the girls pushed him away.
Victor Fitzgerald adamantly denies the charges. If convicted, he faces a double life sentence.
Both the children were medically examined, and they have found that their hymen is intact. There is no laceration, there is no forced entry. The labia major and minor are still intact, and the children have never been molested in any way whatsoever.
But Prosecutor Floresta has presented statements from 3 more children that Fitzgerald abused them on his yacht.
Tapos inaan niya po yung ari niya.
11-year-old Marlin is one of Floresta's new witnesses.
When Marlon came to Preda first, she was a very repressed child and very lonely. She looked so old, as if she was carrying the weight of the world on her back. And I've seen the terrible effect it's had on her life, and I've seen how she's been so damaged and she's been so disorientated. It's been a traumatic experience. I mean, her life is shattered.
We call upon our initial witness, Your Honor, the accused himself, Mr. Victor Keith Fitzgerald, to the witness stand.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth before this honorable court, so help you God?
I do.
Gloria Limpat was 13 when Fitzgerald allegedly abused her. She must face him across the court at every hearing.
And when you arrive at the NBI...
Excuse me. I would like to
In
point
an
out
attempt to stop her testimony, Fitzgerald paid money to Gloria's parents, with terrible consequences.
One day the mother went to the school and got her out of the school, took her to their house on the hillside, and they chained her. And they got a dog chain and tied her legs and bolted it to a post in the house, so she couldn't escape. She was there in her school uniform for 3 days, eating like a dog on the floor.
You have no case?
The court adjourns, and Victor Fitzgerald prepares to return to jail. and attacks Shay Cullen for bringing the prosecution.
One part of the law says that any reasonable person can have you investigated. Unfortunately, I happen to meet a very unreasonable person in the form of Shay Cullen, a Colombian missionary, a so-called priest. He's not a priest at all, he's an arsehole. That's what he is. And I would say to the world that please don't ever consider yourself a free agent when you come to the Philippines, because any individual can do this.
Stop. Come on.
Shay Cullen has been fighting the syndicates which run the Philippine child sex industry for 26 years.
When I began to protest and began to speak against it, then they turned against myself and my fellow workers here at the Preda Foundation. We got death threats. We were warned to stop disgracing the name of the city by exposing child prostitution and the death of these children.
Shay is haunted by the knowledge that some children have been killed by foreign paedophiles before he could reach them. Rosario Baluyot was a street child in Olongapo City. She was 12 years old when she died.
She was sold by a local pimp until one pedophile picked her up and brought her to a hotel and used a vibrator, pushed it into her vagina. It broke in her vagina, and she died in terrible agony and suffering.
It is a cautionary story Shay tells to the children at Preda. Without his intervention, Rosario's fate could have befallen any one of them.
This is the only memorial to Rosario, and that's why we're here today. Isipin din ang buhay niya at manalangin tayo sa kanya. So we're going to pray for her. Kung sana magandang kinabukasan na bawat isa sa pamagitan ng tulong ni Jesu Cristo ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Okay. Sige, uwi na tayo. Let's go. So Rosario really made me feel that I really had to do something to help the children and at the same time look at the structure. Allowing these children to be so abused and to die in this way.
Like many paedophile tourists to the Philippines, Rosario's killer escaped justice. Rather than face the expense of lengthy trials, in the past 10 years, the Philippine government has simply deported more than 40 foreign paedophiles. At the Bureau of Immigration, Shay has discovered the files on 15 British men, including a teacher and social worker, expelled for paedophilic behaviour.
We do have a list of British pedophiles who I discovered when I was researching there a few years ago, and we were able to identify those who had been deported. They've been caught, there was evidence against them.
In the records office, Shay and Inspector Ponciano Ortiz of the Bureau Police locate the files on 2 of the British men most recently deported for sexual contact with children.
Kung mag-build up kami ng kaso, laking magagastos pagkatapos oras at saka panahon at saka gastos para kami makagawa sa kanya ng kaso. Pagkatapos mga ilang araw lamang makakalibre din siya. Di mas mabuti nga ipatapo na kaagad siya. Also a British national.
The first file concerns David Charles Clegg, a 52-year-old navigator from Huddersfield. He was deported in 1991. Clegg signed a sworn confession admitting the sexual abuse of a 10-year-old boy.
He admitted that he used to play with the penis of Randy, who was then 10 years old at the time. Question, how about your sexual relation with Randy? I used to play with his penis once in a while. While playing with Randy's penis, do you usually have a hard-on? Yes, sometimes. Natural, nakakarimarim. In English yan disgusting. Sa Tagalog, nakakarimarim, nakakadiri. Ayaw namin ng mga turista na ganyan kahit sila ay nakakapagdala dito sa Pilipinas ng dollars. This is our case folder on Ian Gordon Anderson, also a British national. And as this picture will show, he is not only probably but certainly a pedophile. When he was arrested, he had with him two boys, both naked. While Mr. Anderson was in shorts and with shirt, the picture of the two naked boys speak for itself.
These pedophiles pose a terrible danger to the children in Britain. I think the police should be very active in investigating, because these pedophiles are the worst kind of criminal, you know, preying on children and destroying their lives, taking away their childhood and, you know, destroying their entire personality.
American law enforcement has taken Shay Cullen's warnings to heart.
I'd like to talk to you today about a case involving a pedophile, the Andrew Mark Harvey case.
At the FBI Academy, the story of Harvey's paedophile organization in Pagsanyan is used to train new officers.
Harvey traveled extensively to the Far East, to the Philippines, to Thailand, for the primary purposes of having sex with young boys. Harvey was very friendly with young kids. He was friendly with their families. He provided them with financial support. But somewhere along the line, it became recognized in the Philippines that Harvey was a pedophile, and he and several other men from around the United States and Europe who were identified as pedophiles were deported.
When Harvey was expelled from the Philippines, Shay Cullen sent his details to the American police. The information was passed to the FBI in Pennsylvania, where John McCarthy is a specialist in paedophile crime.
He had been deported for sexually abusing children in the Philippines. That's why he was kicked out of that country. That was enough for me to start to see if there was anything going on in this country. I was looking for evidence that he had been engaged in prior sexual acts with children while in this country. And my contacts with the local and the state police confirmed that he had, in fact, been convicted of those crimes.
The FBI mounted a 9-month surveillance of Harvey. The investigation led to a raid at his home, which unearthed a hoard of child pornography.
There were approximately 2,000 photographs. Of those 2,000 photographs, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90% of them were obscene.
In 1992, Harvey was sent to a federal penitentiary. The sentence was increased from 1 year to 4 years to take account of his crimes in the Philippines.
I think that an American traveling to the Philippines who has the wherewithal, the money to take advantage of children abroad is a shame on the United States and our society in general, and is a situation that I think needed to be corrected and apparently was not being taken care of in the Philippines, so we had to do something about it here.
From his home in Pennsylvania, Harvey ran an international paedophile ring. His network included some of the British men deported from the Philippines. The FBI passed on their names with a strong recommendation.
It's important, I think, to identify and bring to justice, to prosecute any pedophile, anybody who has sexually abused a child anywhere.
You're not going to change these people. They're going to continue to pursue children. They can engage in some self-control as far as the frequency or actually going out if they want to, if they choose to do so, and look for children, but the desire is always going to be there. And if you just want to roll the dice and take a gamble that they're not going to act out on it, I think it's foolish. I think you need to prosecute these people.
In Britain, the government has ignored the American advice. Instead, it plans to extend the conspiracy laws in the hope of catching any commercial travel agency tempted to offer child sex tours in the future.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, concern has been expressed in this country about British citizens who travel abroad to countries where child prostitution is linked to the organised tourist industry for the purposes
Although the government claims to be concerned about the problem, it has repeatedly blocked legislation which would allow domestic courts to try men accused of sexually abusing children abroad. Most other Western nations have adopted such laws.
combat this evil trade. It's the quality of the evidence which worries us. We notice that in many other countries which have done this, they've had hardly any convictions, and the only conviction we know about wouldn't have a hope of getting through a British court. That's why we're trying to tackle it at the British end through the conspiracy side and trying to get British paedophiles who may be organising these tours.
British police have condemned the government's approach. Mike Hames is the former head of the Obscene Publications branch at New Scotland Yard, the only full-time specialist squad investigating paedophile rings.
I'd be quite happy about the quality of the evidence supplied by the Philippine authorities. In my former career, I dealt quite closely with police officers from the Far East, and they're very professional.
Mike Hames has no doubts that the evidence Shay Cullen located at the Bureau of Immigration in Manila should be used to target the 15 British men expelled for paedophilic behaviour.
If we were, for example, to know that a gang were going to rob a bank, then of course we'd target them, we'd put them under surveillance and arrest them. And we know, because of the nature of their offending, that these people are going to abuse children in this country. Therefore, we need to target them and take them out.
15 British men have been deported from the Philippines for abusing children. What, to your knowledge, is happening to those men?
I haven't got the names of those men. If I had, I might, I stress, be able to make a comment on it. I would hope that that information is passed on to our police, to our National Criminal Intelligence Service and the paedophile unit there, who are very keen to keep tabs on all these people.
Shay Cullen sent the names of the 15 British paedophiles to the National Criminal Intelligence Service 3 years ago. Unlike the FBI, it did nothing with that information.
Were you able to pass on any details to any forces in the UK of these men?
No, because none of the 15 people were known in the United Kingdom. I didn't have a single address for any of them.
The Philippine authorities have given us chapter and verse, names and addresses on request. Why could we get it, but NSIS couldn't?
Well, presumably because what you said, you've requested it.
I think that they should be investigated even still. They're in Britain. They should be put under surveillance. You know, at least the American police put suspects we gave to them under surveillance, and the Britain should do no less. Some people may say that these children are out of sight, out of mind. I don't think they're even in sight for the many people in the British government. If these were British kids, I think the government would react completely different. I think they'd be trying to do something to bring the pedophiles, you know, to justice. But when it comes to Filipino children, they don't seem to care. They don't offer any help to these children. And I often wonder why. You know, is it a racist attitude that they have? There's no price, no matter how expensive, you can put on a human life or on the life of a child.